Hello, hello. How's everybody doing? Happy Monday. I hope you're having a great day. I hope I can see Karen says it is beautiful and it is sunny. It is beautiful and sunny here as well. I'm so happy. Right now it is 69 degrees. So as soon as I get done filming this, I am taking my book and I'm going to sit in the sun. I only have like 20 minutes before I have to do my next task, but I'm going to take my 20 minutes and I'm going to go sit in the sun and read my book. Hello, Annette, Karen, Marguerite, Hester, and Michelle. Hello, Michelle. Is this your first time joining us, Michelle? I don't remember saying hello to you before. But super excited. This is our last week in the kitchen. And I know I've said this like 3 times this month, but this is my favorite talk. This is my favorite talk. This is something I'm still currently in the middle of. Hi, Judy. So yes, we are talking about the layout of the kitchen, where you have things located so that they make sense. And I've only been in my home it was a year on March 15th, right? And y'all heard me say this 100 times. It's a smaller kitchen, right? It's still bigger than my first kitchen in my first house, but it's smaller than what we used to have. And I'm still trying to make things fit. Now, we had our yard sale on Saturday and it rained and poured the entire time. I think it stopped raining. I take that back. Not the entire time. It stopped raining the last hour. And then that afternoon, the sun came out and it stopped raining. And then it was beautiful yesterday, beautiful today. And it was beautiful Thursday and Friday. It was just from 8 to like 12:15. It rained. It was ridiculous. But we did really well. We sold a lot of stuff. My husband just took all the small things up to donation on his lunch hour. And then we are going to continue to try to sell the furniture on Facebook. And then we're done. We got rid of a lot of stuff. I'm super, super happy about that. And some of the things I got rid of were from my kitchen. And I was even so tempted to pull them back and keep them. And I thought, no, I don't need them. There's no reason for me to have them. I'm going to let them go. And looking at it on the other side after those things are gone and going into my kitchen and seeing a bit more room really does make me happy. It's just an easier space to move around in. But the reason why I told you that is I sold a few things and cleared a few shelves. So now I'm rearranging things just to figure out how to make it all work. Because the problem is my pantry is only this wide, right? And it's got, it's a floor to ceiling pantry, which is nice. And there's 6 shelves on it. But the shelves are only this wide and they're only about that deep. So one of those plastic baskets, the blue ones that I have, fit on a shelf and like hardly anything else. I might be able to get a few bottles of salad dressing back behind them, but there's no reason to, right? So that's all the room I have for food. So the rest of my food, like canned goods and, pouches and snacks and cereal and things like that, is on the other, in some other storage cabinets where my bread area is. And you literally have to get on your hands and knees to reach those baskets, and they're double deep. So I have to pull the front baskets out to find the back baskets. And it's really difficult, really frustrating, and really annoying. So I am redoing my layout, still trying to get things to work. Okay, that was a huge tangent, but it looks like we had about 4 more people join us. So it was good that I said that because it gave time for everybody to come. But let's go ahead and dive in, because this talk's just slightly longer because of the content that we're sharing. So let me go ahead and get started. But before I do that, I forgot again to get the link for the checklist ready to go. So let me go grab that real quick. It's a 1-page checklist. And for anybody that's new, because we did have a couple new people join us, for anybody that's new, these checklists are meant to support you and to help you take what I talk about on Mondays and put them into action. I really encourage you to print them out, because then you can keep them. If you join us for a full year, you can keep all of these checklists and extra planner pages, and you will have a full binder of resources that you can use over and over and over again. So this is the green one. Yeah, week 4. So let me grab this. So if you want to get it now, you can. But if not, I'm almost positive Corey includes it in the newsletter that he sends out. Okay. There's the link to the checklist that we're working on today. Okay. So let me go ahead and move this over here, and we will go ahead and get started. So first of all, we are officially in our final week in the kitchen, like I said. And I have to say, this is a really good week because this is where everything all starts to come together. So over the last few weeks, You have done a lot of really important work, right? You sorted through categories, reduced what no longer fit your life, made decisions about overflow, and intentionally chose what deserved space in your kitchen, in the easy to reach spaces and the further away spaces. And that was all about timing. And I think we talked about that on Friday. That is really huge progress. And I hope you give yourself credit for all of the steps that you made. Now, after doing all of that, a kitchen can still feel a little bit clunky, let's say. It can feel like it's off just a bit. Like, yes, it's better, but it's not quite where you want it to be yet. And that's completely normal, especially if this is your first lap around redoing your kitchen. Because sometimes the issue is not the amount of stuff that you have at this point. Sometimes it's all about the placement. And that's what this week is all about. So, this week, we are going to help make your kitchen work for you. And a quick reminder on this, we are not chasing perfect. And we are definitely not trying to make your kitchen look like a magazine spread where nobody actually eats a meal. We are simply working towards a kitchen that feels easier to cook in, easier to clean up in, and easier to move through your day-to-day life. Okay, so we're looking for ease, streamline, simplicity. And I know I talked on this a little bit a couple weeks ago about streamlining a kitchen. And the example that I used was a restaurant, because think about what happens in the kitchen of a restaurant, right? There are multiple meals all being made at the same time because it's all about timing. So if I'm there with a family of 8, everybody gets their dish at the same time, no matter what we order, so nobody's meal is cold. Think of that for a second. That's a huge feat to tackle in a room that might be the same size as the kitchen you're in right now. So you have a lot of stuff happening in one space, a lot of people working in one space. And the only reason why it works and is efficient is because that room is streamlined specifically for the activities that happen inside of it. Okay. So our goal is to help the room to feel better. Okay. Now, let's talk about why placement matters so much. You can absolutely have the right amount of things in your kitchen, but if your spatulas are across the room from the stove, if your everyday dishes are nowhere near the sink or the dishwasher, or if your coffee supplies are scattered in 3 different cabinets, the room is always going to feel frustrating no matter how much you declutter and organize it. Okay. So maybe your food storage containers are on the opposite side of the kitchen where you pack your leftovers. That's something you need to rethink. Maybe your pot holders are tucked in a drawer nowhere near the oven. That's something you need to rethink. Maybe your measuring cups are buried behind items you only use every now and then. These little setup issues may not seem like a big deal when you're looking at them from the outside, but they can make everyday tasks feel harder than they need to be. Now, if you're not sure, look at where those things tend to show up, right? So look at where frustrations tend to happen. That's what I meant to say. So when you unload your dishwasher, for example, and somehow manage to get your steps in before breakfast because everything is stored in 5 different places that are nowhere near to each other, that is something you may want to look into. Or maybe you make lunch and it takes 10 minutes just to round up the bread, the lunch meat, the mayo, and a bag of chips. You are secretly hiding from your husband, such as me. That is something you might want to look into. Or how about when you bring groceries home? This is literally me. How about when you bring groceries home and you are the only one who can put them away because you have a knack for making everything fit? Those are all situations. That's when your kitchen starts to feel like it has a little bit of an attitude, like a teenager, right? Those are all clues. So when you feel like your kitchen is working against you instead of helping you, that's when you need to straighten things out and make this room work to start pulling its weight. Okay. Now, when you're working this week, because that's what this checklist is, that's what you're working on this week, is the layout of where things are. Location audit, we could call it. So while you're working this week, I want you to ask 3 simple questions, because I think questions really help us to get clarity on what we're working on and what our goals are. All right. So the first question is, what do I do most in the kitchen? Okay. And we're just going to use me as an example. So for me, the things that I do most in my kitchen is I cook meals, I clean dishes, I make coffee, and I make bread. Those are my 4 big things that I do every single week or every other week with the bread in my kitchen. Those are my 4 main activities. Everybody's going to have different activities, but most of us will probably have cooking and cleaning, right? And then the rest of the activities may change, but everybody's going to have their own list of activities. Some of you might only have 2, some of you might have 7. Okay. But the point is, know what you do most in the kitchen. And if you need to write these answers down, please do that, because sometimes when you write things down, you're giving voice to those issues, and it helps give you focus and clarity on what needs to be done to solve them. Okay. Second question, where do I naturally do those things? So in my kitchen, let's say the southwest corner is where I make my coffee, right? The south counter is where I do my dishes because I have my sink and my dishwasher. The southeast corner is where I do all of my cooking because my stove is there. And then the northeast corner is where I make my bread. So I've got my bread machine, my basket of bread, the butter, and my toaster. So that's where my 4 activities are located. So for each activity that you write down, put the location somewhere next to each activity. Okay. And if you tend to move around when you do certain things, that is a clue that you need to solidify where the location is. Okay. Then your third question, what should live nearby to make those tasks easier? So in my coffee corner, I have the coffee maker, I have the sugar, I have my husband's K-cups, I have the coffee cups, I have my K-cups, and I have extra ground coffee because we make full pots on the weekend. We drink K-cups during the week. That is all in that one area. Okay. I already told you what's in the bread area. In the sink and dishwasher area, I have the sink, I have the dishwasher, detergent and dishwashing soaps down below the sink. And the dishes are to the right, glasses are to the right, silverware's to the left. That is my little hub for doing dishes. Okay. And then my cooking area, I have my stove. Above, I have my oils in my pan. Down below, I have my spatulas and my tools. Then I have my air fryer right on the counter. And then on the left, I have pot holders and pots and pans. That is my cooking area. That's what you're doing for question number 3. Deciding what items need to be in that area so that you can do that task without running around the room to gather supplies, put supplies away, and all the things. Okay. Now, those 3 questions can completely change how a kitchen functions. So for example, I'm probably going to repeat myself. So just bear with me because I jumped ahead of my outlines. Just bear with me. For example, if you make coffee every single morning in one area of your kitchen, then you want your mugs, your coffee filters, your coffee sweetener, your travel cups. That should all be in that area. Maybe you make breakfast in the same area every morning. If that's the case, then your bread, your toaster, your butter, and other breakfast items should be kept right there or close. So making breakfast feels quick and easy, right? So if you eat oatmeal every day, you might want to have a canister of oatmeal right there. And if you put fruit on the oatmeal, you might want to have your fruit dish right there. If you put nuts on your oatmeal, you might want to have a container of different nuts right there and keep all of that in that one area next to the bowls, next to the spoon, next to the fridge so you can grab your milk or your honey or whatever it is, okay? If you prep dinner next to the stove, then your cooking utensils, your oils, your spices, and pots and pans should be close to that space. See how practical it is? When you break it down, activity, location, supplies, it really does help you streamline your room. And I know, yes, Brenda, it's a beautiful afternoon. And I know this sounds like more work than you want to put in right now because some of us have had our kitchens set up for decades, right? Like when I lived in my other home, we were there for 26 years. And for the first 10 years, I don't think anything moved in my kitchen. It wasn't until later that I started using zones and areas to streamline the kitchen. And when I moved things around, yeah, it was a headache in the beginning, but I'll have a tip to help you do that. It was a headache in the beginning, but once it was done, it completely changed my kitchen because not only was it easier for me to do things in there, it was 10 times easier to put things away because every location made sense. Right? It all made sense. And when that happens, it's easier to keep your kitchen neat and organized because it makes sense. Okay. All right. Remember, we are not trying to impress anybody with the layout of our kitchen. We are simply setting your kitchen up to make your everyday life easier. And you are the only one that needs to make the rules, right? You're the only one that gets to decide what goes where and why. Because how you set things up doesn't need to make sense to anyone other than you. Okay? Now, I do not want you to feel like you need to redo your entire kitchen at once, because some of you are going to be like, yeah, I'm totally not doing this. And some of you are going to be like, oh, I am completely doing this. Hold my coffee. Right. And the people that are super excited to do this, do not do the entire kitchen all at once, because it's just going to make a huge mess that you may not be time or mentally prepared to handle. The reason why I know this is because that's how I did it in that big kitchen. Do not do it all at once. Instead, I want you to choose one main activity area to begin with, just one. So maybe it's where you cook. Maybe it's your coffee spot. Maybe it's where you make breakfast every morning. I actually had a Right Size Living community member email me over the weekend saying that they set up their coffee area, and they were just beyond excited that they were able to get that done. And it did make a big difference. So it does make a big difference. So your coffee area or your tea area or your smoothie area, that might be the best way for you to start trying this out, right? Okay. All right. Remember, when you streamline each activity specifically, that means less walking around, less digging through cabinets, and a whole lot less muttering under your breath. And that is what an activity area does, right? Or what we call zones. It helps your kitchen support the way you actually use it instead of making you work harder than is needed. All right. Now let's talk shelves and drawers for just a minute. The best spots in the kitchen should go to the things that you use most. Easy to reach shelves, the top drawers that are right in the best location, waist level cabinets should be working for supporting your everyday life. That prime real estate should not be taken up by random gadgets, items that you feel guilty and you're forcing yourself to own, or serving trays that only come out when the holidays roll around, right? Your everyday items, remember, we talked about this earlier, have earned those front row seats. So if you use something every week, make it easy to reach. If you use something once in a while, it can live one shelf higher or one shelf lower. If you only use it once a year, it can live somewhere else altogether. That shift, on top of relocating where you keep your things, will make your kitchen feel better almost immediately. Now, I talked to you about this great deal on Friday, I think it was. So if you have not watched that bonus video yet, make sure you do it after this live today, because it's really going to help you pull out the things that you only use occasionally, freeing up so much more space for setting up these activity locations. Now, here's a practical tip for relocating where you keep your things, and that's sticky notes. Before you start moving things all over the kitchen and questioning your life choices, grab a pack of sticky notes. Label your drawers and cabinet doors as to what's inside them right now. So one will say eating utensils, one will say pot holders, one will say glasses, one will say bowls. One cabinet might say cups, saucers, dishes, and bowls. It might say all the things. Put a sticky note outside of every single cabinet and drawer in your kitchen. Then I want you to step back and take a look at the overall layout of where things are. This lets you see how you have things. It helps you decide if those are the best locations. And then finally, it helps you test a new setup before you do all the heavy lifting. It also cuts down on second guessing, saving you from rearranging the same drawer 3 times. Now, for something fun and something different, we are going to set up and have you do a challenge for just this week. Now, in order to do this challenge, I want you to think about the top 3 things you do most often in your kitchen. Maybe it's cooking dinner. Maybe it's making coffee. Maybe it's washing dishes. Maybe it's making breakfast or packing lunches. Once you have 3 activities, choose one of those activities to work on this week. Your goal is to curate that space so it fully supports the task that you do there. That means looking at where you naturally stand, what tools you routinely reach for, what supplies you need to perform that activity, and then bring those items all together so they're easy to grab and easy to put away. Okay. Remember, easy to put away is what keeps clutter off your counter. So always make sure you finish these projects by ensuring it's an easy to put away setup. Now, your goal is to create an area that feels simple, efficient, and ready to work with you. Okay. Just pick one area and get that dialed in. Then, for something a little bit different this week, head into the Facebook group and type done in the thread so we can cheer you on. I'm hoping we get a whole bunch of dones by the end of the week, because I think, yeah, this week ends on Sunday. So by the end of Sunday, I hope we get a whole bunch of dones. There are 49 members in this group. I would love to see 49 dones. Now, please don't worry about making your kitchen perfect this week. Perfect is not the goal. Ease is the goal. Function is the goal. Less frustration is the goal. And remember, if something annoys you every single day, that is not you. That's the setup. And the good news is setups can totally be changed. And the only thing is you have to let your spouse know you're changing setups. Yeah, I rearranged things a couple times in this new kitchen. Forgot to tell the husband. And he's like, where are the blank? I'm like, sorry, I moved it here or I moved it there or whatever it is. So make sure you let your spouse know if you're doing a bit of temporary rearranging just to see if it makes sense. Okay, that is our focus for this week. Don't forget to download and print out your project checklist. Don't forget to type done in the thread. I think that thread goes live at 2:30. So give it about 10 minutes and it'll pop up in the Facebook group. Once you get your area chosen, relocated, and set up, type done in the comments. If we get at least 10 people typing done in the comments, we might draw a name from one of those dones and give a prize. I don't know what that prize will be. I just made that up as I'm sitting here, I guess. But yeah, if we can get at least 10 dones in the comment thread on the Facebook, then we will do a drawing and we'll give a prize away to one of those dones. All right. Okay, that is, before I forget, there is one more live on Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. That is the kitchen maintenance plan. This is a really great talk if it's the first time you're coming to one of these. That gives you tips and suggestions for helping you keep your kitchen from becoming cluttered and messy and chaotic going forward. Because you worked so hard this month, right? You worked so hard downsizing and right sizing and decluttering and cleaning and rearranging and moving, all of the things. My goal is to help you keep it that way going forward. And that's what we're going to talk about on Friday. What you can do to keep things put away, and what you could do to keep clutter hotspots from taking over your counters again, and things that you could do to keep things neat going forward. All right. That is all I have for you today. I hope you have an amazing day. I hope you have a fantastic week. Don't forget to type done in the thread. That will be up in about 7 more minutes. 7 more minutes. And if you need me, tag me in the group and I'll answer any way I can. If you need to talk privately, email me at contact@tracylynnmedia.com. I try to answer those emails a couple times a week. So yeah, I may not answer right away, but put it in there. My team will let me know. They'll flag it for me. And then I try to go in a couple times a week to answer those emails. All right, you guys, have a great day. Take care and I'll see you Friday. Bye.